I have news that may shock you, especially if you're currently in therapy trying to heal from heartbreak. And what I'm going to share today may explain why, despite all your hard work in therapy, you still feel stuck. And why it's probably not your fault. Here's a confession that might surprise you. When I first started working as a therapist, I had absolutely no idea how to help people heal from heartbreak. None, zero, nada, zilch. And it's because I had not learned a thing about it in counseling school, not part of the education. And the really wild part, neither do most therapists. It's not just me. But wait, you might be thinking, aren't therapists supposed to be experts in emotional healing? Well, yes and no. And that difference might be exactly why you're still struggling. Therapists are phenomenal at helping diagnose and treat mental health conditions or process difficult emotional traumas. But the reality is that there are so many more things that are going on when you lose a relationship. And there are many dimensions of this that do not even cross the minds of most therapists in how to help you. And this is why traditional therapy may actually be keeping you stuck in heartbreak, believe it or not, which is so counterintuitive. I mean, the common wisdom, if you're going through something hard, rightfully so, people are like, well, you should talk to somebody about this. Go see a therapist. And that isn't terrible advice. I mean, it's great to have somebody to talk with, to process these feelings. But again, there's more that needs to happen. And so here is what your therapist probably doesn't know about breakup recovery. Again, through no fault of their own, because nobody teaches us this stuff either. But here it is. What is probably going on underneath your difficulty in getting over the relationship has to do more with your biology, your physiology, the actual nature of love than any type of mental or emotional processing situation. And the difficulty here is that because therapists like me, honestly, are trained on how to diagnose and treat mental health conditions, that is typically where therapists go, meaning that if you come in and say, I cannot get over this breakup, I'm still thinking about my ex all the time, I feel so bad about this, it was 3 months ago, I feel like I can't move on. A therapist is going to go into this and start making it be about your issues and might be completely missing the point that what really happens in breakup recovery is that people need to go through eight very distinct, separate steps and stages. There is a well-defined process for this. But if you start talking to a therapist who doesn't really know that, they're going to want to spend a lot of your time and a lot of your money talking about your parents' divorce, talking about your attachment issues, talking about your anxiety and how that's the reason for your feeling the way that you do. And you know what? Maybe there are attachment issues. Maybe you never got over your parents' divorce. But the reality is also that everyone who goes through a really bad bout of heartbreak has these feelings, whether or not their parents got divorced or they have anxious attachment styles, whatever it is. So let's talk about what it looks like that's different when you work with somebody who is specialized in breakup recovery. I'm just going to tell you straight out, there are not many of these professionals out there. I was not one of them. Honestly, as I mentioned, I didn't get this kind of training and specialized knowledge either. And I would often work with people who were coming out of a relationship and heartbreak or divorce situation. And I would feel genuinely stuck in how to help them. I could work on emotional regulation stuff. We could process grief, but I didn't really understand why people were as stuck as they were. And the tools that I had in my toolkit as a therapist at that time were not moving the needle for people. They were getting frustrated. I was getting frustrated. And so what happened is that I didn't like the way that felt as a therapist. I wanted to do a better job, honestly. And so that led me to start doing some of my own research, not just in psychology, but in biology, evolutionary biology, really going into understanding how love works in us, how attachments are formed, not just mentally and emotionally, but physiologically, in order to understand what needs to happen in order for people to truly heal from this. And so, again, what I discovered is that there are 8 different stages of this. There is that first withdrawal stage that is the super intense, like obsessive compulsive thinking, craving contact with your ex, feeling like really intensely bad about it. But there are so many more pieces of this. And when I finally learned how to help my clients move through each of these phases, relational clarity, grief and loss, dark emotion, extracting the wisdom from these, not trying to make them go away, and all the other steps, it started to work. My clients started to move through this. Everybody felt good, but I needed to figure out what had to happen. And also with these clients, I stopped doing therapy and I started using a coaching model that was much more focused on helping them move through the process than taking the stance that there was like something wrong with them for feeling the way that they were feeling. And this changed everything. I knew what to do. My clients moved forward and in a really joyful way. You know, this will sound crazy, especially when you're going through this, but I've had so many people now go through this process, come out the other side and be like, I am not glad that this happened in the sense that it was really awful. However, I wouldn't change a thing because I moved through this process. I learned so many things about myself, my patterns in relationships that really helped me evolve. And I have changed as a person in a lot of positive ways, not despite going through this experience, but because of it. And they're actually really grateful that they had the opportunity to grow in this way. And I would like you to have this opportunity as well. So if you feel like you've been stuck in heartbreak for longer than it feels like you should, and particularly if you've been in therapy and we're just like rehashing things, but you don't actually feel like you're moving forward, chances are good that you may actually need a different approach, and that is absolutely okay. I have a ton of resources to help you with this, and they are free. So if you come to my website, growingself.com, you can take advantage of a free resource that I have for you. It's a heartbreak recovery quiz. So when you come over to my site, you can come to the free resources section and you can find my heartbreak recovery quiz. From here, you can answer just a few questions that help you understand what stage you are currently in and the specific steps and the work that you need to do in order to help yourself move through this process productively. So take the assessment, answer some questions. You'll get a customized report back that will give you clarity on where you are in this, but also a bit of an action plan that'll help you start feeling better, start feeling free, start moving forward. I made this for you. I hope you take advantage of it. And thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I am Dr. Lisa Marie Bobby. My practice is Growing Self. Come visit me, take the quiz, and while you're there, check out my blog and podcast because I have so many more free resources for you. Videos, podcasts, articles, all on the subject of healing after heartbreak. And I hope you take advantage of all of them.